CEO Wisdom Pod with Alex Morin. I've got a nice pre-talk, open heart convo with Alex yesterday. He's a really cool guy, really vibe with Alex, I guess, because we're both from the same spot. He looks like a former best friend of mine, sounds like him too. So I don't know, might help. But Alex is basically the CEO of Working Writers Co., PromoNoise and Almost Enlightened. Got a huge corporate career behind him. He did 17 years at Debco, which is super interesting in itself. It's a promo company as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about life-changing experiences and life sort of pivots or consciousness moments, oh shit moments that Alex got and will share graciously with us today. Alex, I'm glad to have you on. Can you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do nowadays?
Sure. Well, thanks for that wonderful introduction, Charles. I'm honored, and I agree with you. I thought yesterday's conversation we vibed beautifully. I thought that we share a lot of the same passions. We have a similar energy. You know, we're open. We like to create. We like to meet people, and so it's fabulous to be networking with you today and your fabulous audience as well. My life story is long and has many detours and many routes. Today, I'm a business owner and I run all of my businesses from the heart. As you alluded to, I had a long corporate career, 17 years at Debco, and then we transitioned and sold to a private equity company. I was a shareholder in that company for a few years, running the sales organization across North America. And then we had a close call with our son. We almost lost our teenage son. He was stabbed in 2020, right in the height of COVID. And that changed everything, Charles. I knew the minute the doctor said, your son's going to live, and it was touch and go there for a while, but I knew the minute they said that, I was done doing what I had done for 20 years. Funny enough, Charles, when I started that career, I knew that it wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. You know, I was young. I was probably 21, 22 years old when I started that first career, and I was an aspiring musician. It was the last thing in the world I wanted to do was to sell promotional products. But 1 year turned into 2 years, and I had a child, and then another child, and then a third child, and the promotions came and the opportunities came, and 20 years later, I always knew I had to leave. And that moment when the doctor said, your son is going to live, was the moment for me. I took the jump. I never had the courage to do it. I finally did it. I knew life had to change. And I decided that I would start businesses, work for myself, and only do businesses that aligned with my heart. And so I started a few of them: Almost Enlightened, Cacaoching, Working Writers Co., PromoNoise, all kinds of different companies. And I love what I do, Charles. I exited from the private equity investment recently, and now I'm starting to get rid of a few of the businesses that I started a few years ago and focus on a couple of them because I want to spend more time with my family. I'd like to do some traveling, kind of like what you do, see the world and experience some adventure here. Life is short, and I want to experience it to the max. So that's a little bit of an introduction of me.
That's a wonderful introduction. And I'm trying to put myself in your shoes when you were at the hospital with your son. And was the moment, was it like subconscious, or was it, I need more freedom, this life is short, life can be taken away extremely quick, and this corporate life is not going to provide me what I want? What was the aha moment there?
Well, let me be completely honest with you, because it's a bit of an embarrassing honesty. There was a knowingness. That's not the embarrassing part. There was a knowingness that the time had come, and this is the time. You know, there are moments in your life where you know something, and I knew it in my heart. I felt it in my heart. I just absolutely knew it. The embarrassing part is that I never had the courage to do it. Look, I talked a big game. I was fabulous at what I did, well respected in the industry, but I didn't have the courage to do it. And at that moment, it provided me the perfect excuse to do it, right? The perfect one. Look, and I knew my heart told me, you got to be with your family, dude. And that was the moment where I thought, I won't let down the corporate board. I can honestly tell them I'm making this decision in the best interest of my family. I've almost lost my son. It is the perfect alibi. It is the perfect moment. And I'm embarrassed to say that, or I was embarrassed to say that, Charles, because I should have just lived my life. I should have left years and years and years ago, knowing what I knew, knowing who I am, knowing that I'm a creator. I should have done it. But I think, like so many people around the world, we do what's habitual. And what's habitual for me was waking up early in the morning, going to the office, or traveling around the world, meeting with customers, making lots of money, and living almost to the end of my means. When I say almost, no debt, but not a tremendous amount of savings, right? Living in that top percentile, and yet not being happy because I wasn't creating something for myself. So, the embarrassing part is I didn't have the courage, but Charles, I did it. Maybe it took me 20 years, and for some people it takes them 6 months, but I did it. And that was the first of many massive decisions I made. When I say many, 3 massive decisions. And when you make a decision like that, you can do it again. And then you can do it again. And they just get bigger and more profound as you go along.
Right. And it's hard, to make these decisions, the comfort zone. And I mean, the 9 to 5 is meant to keep you in there. It's so addictive, that comforting check and that predictability. But I think as men, especially, we have that deep down desire in us to hunt, to take risk, to to play and have fun, and not have someone tell you what to do. And yeah, roam free. It's like a dog in a field, a very large field. He'll just run and run and run and stop at times, and hunt again and see a rabbit there. I consider myself to be like a pit bull chasing something. That's like my imagery of myself. I want to hear about the other 2 risks that you've taken, because me, a couple of years ago, entrepreneurship, meeting my wife, that was another one, like engaging in a sacred union with someone, traveling the world. These were my trees. What were your trees?
So I hadn't anticipated sharing this because I've only ever shared it privately to people that I love, people who I'm close to. But the second biggest decision, and I'll reveal that in just a second, but I want to talk a little bit about your analogy, about this field, about this open field of being able to run. I was fortunate to grow up in a family where my mom was a flight attendant for Air Canada. And that meant that I got free tickets anywhere in the world I wanted to go. I lived in a liberal family. Mom and dad were very supportive, put us in any sport we wanted to do, any arts we wanted to do. And I had that ability to be able to travel. So as I grew up, I had all of this freedom. And it was unbelievable. What a feeling. What a youth. Just fabulous. And then you get into this corporate scenario where the freedom is condensed. It's pushed into a narrow cylinder, just to use some kind of a metaphor. And everything becomes tighter. Now you're responsible for getting up and showing up at a certain time and checking out at a certain time. And you're going to make a paycheck, and you're only going to get this many weeks of holiday, and that is it. And so I went from a very free environment to a more of a constrained environment. And I chose to break the bonds of that constricted environment that I was in by being an asshole and being unloyal to my wife. And I've never shared this publicly, and I'm happy to do that today with you. But that was the second biggest decision that I made in my life, was to share that with my wife and be honest with her and tell her who I had been for years in the corporate world. And that would have been another reason that was on my conscience, that was sitting there when I made that decision in the hospital that evening, that I was done. And it happened at the same time. I was done living that kind of life. I was done living dishonestly. And it was the single biggest decision I've ever made in my life. Now, what was interesting about it is that I knew that my life was changing at that moment. And I lacked the courage to be able to tell my wife for at least another year and a half after our son had been stabbed. But it took me a year and a half to look inside, to do the work. The work always continues. And to find love and to love myself and to appreciate my family. I always had, but I didn't see precisely what there was in my life. And when I did, and I continued to do the work, and I began to see my wife for more than I had seen her for, it revolutionized everything. Yeah. And I knew in my heart, Charles, that I was going to be honest, and I was going to tell my wife what I had done, and I wanted a clean slate. And I was prepared to accept the responsibility for that as well. Alex, if this means that she walks away, then she walks away. If this means that she wants to work on it, then she wants to work on it. I wanted to work on it. That would have been my dream. But I had screwed that up so badly that I owed her all of the power, all of the control. And look, I knew I was going to do it, but I didn't know when. And it happened one night in a beautiful moment. We had done some forgiveness work previously for months. We had been working on forgiveness work. I had been working up to this internally. And then one night it came out. And what ensued in the months afterwards was nothing short of miraculous. Grace, forgiveness, understanding, but also heartbreak, sadness, incredulousness, anger, frustration, all of these things. And I accept responsibility for that. And I told myself the minute the words came out of my mouth, Alex, you will exercise patience for the rest of your life. You will exercise patience. Whoa. Anytime your wife is upset or triggered, you will exercise patience because you created this. And it is the single biggest decision I have ever made in my life. I don't think anything will ever eclipse that because I see what I have never, ever seen before. And that is complete and utter truth, Charles. So that was my biggest moment. And when I say 2-3 big moments, there have been other ones since then, but they're smaller, but they're meaningful, but that was the single biggest thing I've ever done.
Let's wait for that third one, explore that second one. I got shivers while listening because I know how hard that is. Me, with my wife, it was porn at some point. I had to sit down and I just broke down because I was like taking over my life, and it was like, yes, man, this cannot keep going. Even if it wasn't like a substantial quantity, but I felt I was cheating like pretty much all the time. So yes, I felt really like a loser. Because us men, especially if we have like lots of testosterone in us, like we're gonna chase it, and you constantly, it's a demon. Me, it started like when I was in high school. It was a competition with my friend, who watched the most porn. How fucked up is that?
Right.
And it kind of grew on me, and then the dating culture, then it's I think it evolved in like serial dating on Tinder. I was good at sales, so like I had a pretty good closing rate there, and finally yes. I was like, sacred union, right? Like let's do this. But I still had my old habits, and I just felt I wasn't the best version of myself. It's so hard to resist, that it's like it's right there right now. So I fully understand you in that, and the bravery of that. I understand the bravery behind it. It's really hard. It takes balls, the same balls that you use to reproduce in other females or porn. Well, it takes them to go ahead, and it takes your heart also. And thank you for sharing that, because you'll help a lot of men. And God knows that it's hard to get at the top of that hill. Most of us start at the bottom of that hill, and we're very susceptible to all of these addictions, whether it's porn, whether it's cheating, whether it's food, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs. And I think this is only not going to get better. And we need folks like us to just lighten the path. So very, very brave. And Yeah, miraculous. I can also understand that. It's super hard. I've studied betrayal with Hester Perel, I believe her name is, and a bunch of books. And yeah, it's so many emotions, right? And plus, you had that with your son, so the son is not done over yet, and that's like a rainbow of emotions, or should I say, a chaos of emotions: forgiveness, pity, like what is the meaning of life? So that happened to you. It's like if there was all this pent up of 17 years of a career, and then poof, everything explodes, and it's like, it's time to change. So that's beautiful what you just shared there. But that was my next question: how did you deal with that explosion of chaos around you, with the son here, the wife there, the new version of you, the entrepreneurship? How did you maintain order, quote unquote, into this discipline to make sure that you kept on growing? Or was it super chaotic and messy?
Well, I think and it's a fabulous question, and thank you for all the insights, and thank you for sharing your vulnerable truth. I respect it. I hear it. And I know just how hard it is. We are bombarded by sexualized imagery everywhere we go. Just the other day, my wife and my youngest son and I were off to dinner, and we passed a real estate sign, and the real estate sign had this strikingly attractive Asian woman and a phone number, and units starting at $749,000. The imagery has zero to do with building houses or this community. And it's just insanity, the degree to which everything is sexualized. And so the odds are stacked against you, certainly as a man, and I'll bet as a woman as well, in this society. So yes, I do think it warrants conversation so that we can build awareness around it. And like you say, Charles, become our best selves. So you asked this question about, how did I manage all of these things amid these turbulent times? And I will say that in chaos and in trauma comes clarity. It's really quite interesting. And this occurred for the first time when I was 21 years old, and my father passed away at the age of 49. And he passed away of a heart attack. I was very close to my father. He had one heart attack previously. He was fit, at least fit looking. But genealogically, all of his family had passed away from heart attacks, every single one of his brothers and sisters. And so at the age of 21, I lose my father. It's a tumultuous time. It's traumatic. And in that moment, I decide, well, I'm making a change. I see it. It's clear to me. I will focus on my health. And I became a vegetarian for 9 years. I changed my focus with regard to physical activity. I'd always been an athlete. I was never overweight, but neither was he. And I saw the writing on the wall. If I don't make a change right now, then I'm dying at 49, as does everybody in his family. So that was my first moment that in trauma comes clarity, or the possibility of clarity. And so when my son was stabbed, there was a moment of clarity. All of these things I could see around me were suddenly unimportant, and my job was unimportant. What I was selling was unimportant. All of it was unimportant. The only thing that was important to me was love, and the love I have for my son, the love I have for my family, the love I have for humanity, right down to the doctors who were operating, the nurses who were there, everybody, the ambulance driver, his friends that helped him out. Love, 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 love. And this is the type of clarity that is possible in these deeply traumatic moments. And if you center yourself and you bask in the stillness, you will see it, you will feel it. And I remember being at that hospital day after day after day after day. And in the height of COVID, you weren't allowed in. You could come in for about 15 minutes at the most. And I just wanted to be close. And we were at, I forget the name of the hospital now, the trauma center in Toronto, South something, I forget. Anyways, people will recognize it, but it's lovely. Most hospitals are, with beautiful trees and grass. And I would spend my 15 minutes and stretch it out as long as I could, and then go back to the trees. Fortunately, it was the summer. I would sit on a bench and I would just listen to music and meditate. That's all I would do. I would turn the music off and I would just hear the stillness, feel the stillness. And in that stillness, Charles, is where all the clarity was. This is what you need to do. And then these are all the possibilities that are in front of you. And I could see them all. I could do this, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. All it was love. That's all I could see.
Wow, man, that also hit me because I did various retreats, and the only word that remains always is love. That in the
Yeah.
end, there's just love. That what is love? Is this heart frequency? It's this magnetism. Like, are we like these planets? Can we connect with one another? Can it always be win-win? Can we multiply that instead of always going win-lose? And
Yeah.
your situation, I can try to relate. I've had chaotic events in my life too, and I meditation was a savior. It's like going back to the focus, or even at night, sometimes some of us, insomnia, well, you try to meditate yourself to sleep. That's always a good one. Like you said, I call it forever patience. So you constantly come back to the center. It's okay if your demons bring you back, but you come back to the center, because so much emotion, so much up and downs. I have a friend, that a friend of my brother, which sort of is my friend, and he told me about his daughter that was born way before time, and she had like 25 surgeries. She's a little miracle. Doctors spent 30 million on her. 30 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like that's the kind of situation that make me question my anti-socialist beliefs, that, health should be privatized and so forth. Well, in Quebec, if without that system, she would be dead, and she's a little miracle. And then if she survives, it's advancement for the whole scientific community, because she's a little miracle. And also it can inspire others. Anyway, so he went through the hospital for a year. Literally, they lived at the hospital. They had to drop jobs and so forth. So super hard, these situations, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But now that you have gone through those, what insights are left in you, and who's the Alex 2.0, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, it's what's really interesting after these traumatic moments is that the tendency is to revert to our habits, right? So, you have these epiphanies, I'll call them, and then a month goes by and 2 months go by, and all of a sudden you don't see as clearly as you used to see, but you retain the essence of what occurred. Look, I've done the drug mushrooms 4 or 5 times in my life. It's been a while since I've done it. I would love to do it again, actually. What's that?
Psilocybin.
Right, psilocybin. Yes. So it's been a long time since I've done it, but I swear to you that every time I have done it, I've seen God. Now I'm not a religious person, and I don't go to church, but I believe in a higher power, and I have been one with that God when I've done these mushrooms. And the reason I tell you that story is because a week goes by after that experience and you begin to lose it. But in your heart you had it. It's still there. And I believe that there is memory in the heart. In fact, that's been proven scientifically. And so it stays with you. And so I have a knowingness that there is a oneness, that we are all connected, in the same way that I had a knowingness in that moment after our son's tragedy that life was going to look differently and I was going to pursue different paths. Now, of course, yes, I reverted to some older habits. I'm a guy who works tremendously long hours, always had, and that was a tough habit to break. But even though I saw that I wanted more time, I went back into that habit, and it took me a couple of years to begin to break out of that habit. So, what do I do, and what does Alex 2.0 look like? Alex 2.0 is everything Alex has been throughout his childhood all the way up to now, but evolved and changing and growing. And so I take my failures, I take my mistakes, I take my victories and my insights, and I attempt to grow through them and grow with them. And so I forgive myself for the mistakes I'm about to make tomorrow and the ones that I've made today, but with an eye and an intent to be my best self every day. And I think that's Alex 2.0, is an Alex who has much more grace, an Alex who is committed to growing, and an Alex who is still as curious as the boy who was 10 years old. So I'm all of those things, the past, the present, and the future that I see.
Love it. Do you have a couple more minutes ahead of you? I have like 25-ish. Do you have that?
Yes, I do. I sure do. Yeah.
Okay. One, you make me think of Justin Trudeau, the best version of him, not the like banning the trucker thing version and the bank account stuff. Grace, right? Grace is one of Justin's quality. How would you describe grace? I'm not sure how to describe it, like flow. How would you describe it?
Yeah. Grace rhymes with space. And I'm just thinking about that right now. It's not something I've thought about before, but
Love
grace
it.
rhymes with space. And I see grace as allowing yourself a little bit more space, right? Because we constrict ourselves with our preconceived notions, with our expectations of ourselves. And when we begin to unattach from those expectations and from those rules and those habits, it's like we take a strong hold off of ourselves and all of a sudden realize that we have a bit more space. And that's what I call grace, is just allowing yourself that space to be able to be your best self, to be able to maybe even see yourself from another viewpoint and forgive that person for the mistakes they make and encourage that person and see the victories and celebrate with that person. So I would equate grace with space.
Love it. That's very creative right there. Like on the spot definitions. Love it. What's the third breakthrough slash big change that you had in your life?
The third breakthrough is stepping into the next identity, because an identity is an ego, right? And the ego construct is important in the world, right? And we a lot of people say the ego is, we got to get rid of it and we got to strip it, and it's just your ego talking and you're making decisions with your ego. And there's some truth to that. There's truth to that. But when you're in this world, when you live in this world, you are also a physical being in addition to a spiritual being. And so as a physical being, um, I've lost my train of thought here. Remind me of the question, Charles.
Yeah, the third phase of your life, which is that new identity.
Okay. So as a physical being, I have to build an ego. I have to build an identity. Otherwise, I'm not material. I'm not material anymore. I may as well just be spiritual. And so my third big decision is to step into this new identity, is to actually define who I am in this world at this particular time. And it's not to say that that is it, that is the box. What I mean to say is that that's what I aspire to be. That's what I am working towards, with room to evolve. And the evolution occurs in the great unknown. And I'm open to all possibilities now. I'm open to a different version of myself than I see right now, or that I aspire to be. And so I have made a conscious decision lately, Charles, to step into the new identity, this identity of who I am as, my gosh, loving, supportive, sharing, always learning, humble,
Courageous, honest.
yes, confident at the same time, knowing what I'm going after, fallible, all of these things I am stepping into now. And that means that I am releasing my fear of judgment, right? I am releasing that. And that is a massive step for me, for a guy who I have been a PR expert my entire life, Charles. Walk into a room and be able to relate to everybody because I know how to make you like me. But I guess I didn't love myself truly. I was selling myself short, not living to my full expectation. And today I love myself. I with all of my beautiful accomplishments, with all of my beauty and love, and with all of my mistakes and all of my faults, I love myself. And so I'm stepping into that new self, that new identity, with the prospect of growth, unknown growth. So that's the third big decision that I've made recently. And, so that's 1, 2, and 3 in the span of 3 years, these decisions I've made. And now it's like, oh, like, you've jumped off a 10-meter platform, you can do it again. You can do it again. You can do it. That fear is gone now. And so I am so curious, and I'm so excited about what the future holds, because I will look at possibility now. And though it may appear to be a bold move, I will simply say, let's go. I've done it before, and I am fully and totally supported every time I do it. Why would it be any different this time around?
Wow. So much info in there. Humans are so complex, and
aren't we?
yeah, it's like the retreat stuff. Same to me when I go on retreat. Sometimes I just it takes me time to digest, and I'd love to become that higher version quicker. But I guess it's exposure. Am I being my best self on a daily basis? I guess I've had various of these consciousness moments, but not on the bigger level as you did. Some people call that midlife crisis. Right. I think it's just like saying Gen Z, it's not super relevant. It does help the brain to reason. PR, I fucking hate PR. I want to remove the word hate from my vocabulary. By the way, I said I would say, I think it was despise. And yeah, despising is not super cool either. I love your openness. You kind of open your guard. You're more flexible. You can take impact. You're just like Bruce Lee. You can flow like water. You can adapt. And grace, we've got an example of grace listening to you. You asked me, Charles, what was the question again? That was grace right there. People listening. I was like, grace right there. I want to talk about some of your companies though. You've got 3, 4 of them. So like you went on a creativity explosion right there. Tell us about these businesses and what each is doing / accomplishing.
Well, they're all dear to my heart, and I'll talk about Working Writers Co. first. Working Writers Co. slots in and aligns with what I did in university. I didn't know what I wanted to do in university. I had designs to study physics. I thought about all kinds of things, business and even law. And at the end of the 4 years, I ended up with an English literature degree because I fell in love with Shakespeare. I don't know why I did. It just did happen. And
a lot of people did.
I followed the path, and that's what it was. And that served me well in my life. The ability to be able to communicate effectively through the written word and orally, because if you read a lot, you understand how to be able to talk that out. And a special shout out to one of my grade 12 teachers who had me read the part of Hamlet when I was in grade 12, and I just loved it. And I was always into acting and operas and plays and all that stuff. So long story to say that it aligned. This company, Working Writers Co., what it does is it teaches people how to write books. I met a woman in a business incubator course. Her name is Marcy Barbaro. She's a terrific, unbelievable human being. And after we had done our homework, because we were paired up, she revealed to me that she was writing a book. She had been 2 years into writing it and hadn't finished it. And I said, wow, is that how long it takes to write a book? And she said, well, it is for me. And I said, well, I have an English lit degree. I write for a living. I'm constantly writing in business. I write all kinds of things, PR things, advertisement, content, magazine pieces, you name it. Why don't I help you finish your book? And lo and behold, we finished her book, boom, like that. And she says to me, Alex, I know that of the 7 billion people on the planet, everyone's got a story. I know there is a need for accountability. I know there is a need for solid book coaching. Would you consider starting this company with me? And I said, yeah. Hell yeah, let's do this. That would be tons of fun. I love to write. I love to coach. I love to speak. I love people. Why the hell not? And we started this company and bam, we were successful right from the outset. 5 people joined immediately our flagship program. It's a 6-month program whereby we take you from idea to manuscript. You are done a manuscript, full developmental editing throughout the course, 2 nights of coaching throughout the week, unlimited talking and texting with us when you need it, a community of writers. It is the best program for writing a book. 6 months, you got a book done. It's amazing. And we've developed best-selling writers as a result of it as well, who have done phenomenally well. And I would love to shout them out, Steve Barendrecht being one of them, and Danielle Gauthier being another one. And they're fabulous writers. They're available on Amazon. They're best-selling authors. They've gone through the program. And so we have been growing this business for 2.5 years now, evolving the business, figuring out different ways that people can work with us, whether it be the full enchilada or dipping your toes into the world of writing. I love it. It's therapeutic for the people who are writing, because most people write memoirs or leadership books with us. And it is deeply, deeply fulfilling for me. Look, I am learning from the best of the best, Charles, as you are. You're talking to CEOs every day. I'm talking to humans every day. Some of them are therapists, some of them are financiers, others are entrepreneurs, some are doctors, some are climatologists. We've got a variety of people, and everybody is a subject matter in something, expert in something. And I have the privilege to be able to look at their writing, digest their writing, help them create a story arc that resonates while they teach me about their area of expertise. What a job. Are you kidding me? And people pay me to do that? That's insane. It's amazing. Everybody wins. So we're in the midst of scaling this company right now. We've got marketing help, we've got accounting help, we've got editing help, and we'll continue to do that. I love this company. It's fabulous.
Wow.
So this is Working Writers Co. is the name of that company, and you can find us at www.workingwriters.co. At the moment, I've got a meager landing page that'll lead you to a masterclass and a brand new website coming out within a week or 2 that is almost done at the moment. So lots of development on that side there. Love that business.
Wow. Well, let's see if the second and the third one are as interesting. Tell us about Almost Enlightened, and we have PromoNoise here. Tell us about these two.
Okay. So Almost Enlightened was the first company I started after my son was stabbed. And it started out as a podcast, the Almost Enlightened podcast. It is a love of my life, Charles. It is a love of my life. I absolutely love that business. I haven't recorded an episode in a year. Why not? Because I've been so busy with these other businesses that I have shut off creating new episodes. However, I'm about to tell you, I'm about to share where I'm going in life, but I am going to resurrect that podcast in the very near future because it is so dear to me. I love it. I discuss topics like awareness. I talk about the heart. I talk about, my gosh, marijuana in the family. I talk about all kinds of different topics. My tagline is Almost Enlightened, a show about whatever I want, whenever I want, right? And I talk about whatever, whenever. And I love that show. And most of the times I actually write the script out. I research, I take a look at what's happening in the scientific community. I relate scientific developments to things that are on my mind, in my heart. And I bring that all together in a podcast. I just love it. And it occurred to me as I was building that podcast that the legacy I had in the industry, the promotional products industry, was so valuable that I needed to immerse myself in that environment again. And at the time, I had not exited from the company. And so I still needed to make money for my family. And so I got into consulting, and I kept the brand Almost Enlightened Consulting. And my vision was to bring heart to business. Not that there's no heart in business, there's lots of heart in business. But my philosophy was, look, I've got 20 years as a sales marketing executive, as a leader, as a manager, and I have always been a spiritual entity. I've been afraid to showcase that. And so what I want to do with Almost as Enlightened is build a course. And I built a course called Energy and Creation. And I had some wonderful partners who believed in me, who were my clients for a long time and said, okay, teach us. And I cut my teeth doing that. I wasn't always the best at it from the outset, but my heart was there, and I was learning, and I was growing, and I was sharing valuable information. And I've since grown that, Charles, and I've created more programs that I consult with companies on. And I do that to this day. And I started to take on more companies in the promotional products industry, teaching sales, teaching the art of marketing. And that's really the Almost Enlightened company now, which is the podcast, which is the consulting, which is the coaching, which is the programs. And we are going to amalgamate my wife's business into the Almost Enlightened banner as well in short order. We have another business called Cacaoching, where we use the modality of cacao, right, from the Theobroma tree. And we use that to heal and to love and to open our hearts. And we're going to bring that into the Almost Enlightened sphere, rebrand it, because I want to work with my wife. I want to spend more time with her. I want to build something with her. And this is a dream of ours. And I want to travel the world doing that. So this is how Almost Enlightened will continue to develop. And PromoNoise, very quickly, is an educational company where I took my speaking abilities and I was doing product review videos. You'll find lots of them on LinkedIn. You'll find them on my YouTube channel, PromoNoise. But I've recently advised my partner in that company that we're going to close that company down. I can't do everything, Charles. I've exited from a company, giving myself some financial freedom for a few years to come. And I want to focus. I want to focus my energy now on these heart-based projects that are really aligned with family, my desire to want to travel and adventure, and my desire to want to keep on learning. So that's PromoNoise there. And I love that company. I love my partner, such an amazing, phenomenal person. And I have no doubt that we'll continue to work together, because when you meet people like that, there's never an end, right? It's like this venture, sure, we'll put a bookmark on the end of this one here, but we're going to work together again. We're, fabulous people vibe, and they come together. So these are my businesses, and I'm a partner in a couple of other businesses in which I have equity and I help out. Return Me is one of them. We're the largest lost and found company in the world. I love that company. You can find us at return.me. And it's a fabulous company that
what's that
I
one?
absolutely love.
Tell me a bit more about that one.
So this company's been around for a while. And when I left the industry, they are both a retail company and part of the promotional products industry. They asked if I would like to help them out. And in exchange for that, we negotiated an equity deal. And I got to tell you something, Charles. This company is wild. Here's how it works. You know what an AirTag is, right? It works on the principle of Bluetooth, and it's a ping, and then it shows you where you are. We have Return Me tags. They're luggage tags, they're bag tags, they're mobile decals. We've even got digital versions that are completely eco-friendly. And the principle is that if you lose your goods, they will be returned to you from anywhere in the world, because someone's going to find it and it's going to say, return me, call for reward. They call, our call center answers the phone, and they say, hey, you found something? Please give us the number on the thing. And they say, the number is this. And they say, we know who owns that. Would you like us to pick it up at your premises? We pick it up. We ship it from anywhere in the world to their rightful owner. It's a low-cost service. You can buy these tags anywhere from $10 to $15. They will work for the lifetime of the product. You don't have to worry about Bluetooth. This company is growing like nobody's business, Charles. It is unbelievable. And the most incredible thing about it isn't even the business. So let me share this with you. When I partnered with these people, I was immersed in a whole new world. My business partner is Muslim, and many of his staff are. And I did not know the religion very well. And I have come to absolutely adore the religion, adore the philosophy, the love. And I have since discovered that no matter what religion, its foundation is in love. And every chapter has a different interpretation of that. And sometimes those interpretations are lovely, and sometimes they don't align with me or with other people. But this company and these people have taught me so much in terms of opening my world to their religion. And I am honored, deeply honored to be working with them. And I absolutely love this company. And this is what happens in business when you open your heart and you take a step. You are supported and opportunities present themselves to you. And this is precisely what's happening to me day in and day out. So I never focus on the money anymore. I never do that. I simply focus on being my best self and giving. What can I give to this company? What can I give to this customer? How can I keep on giving? And boom, it just comes right back to you. It is almost like a law. And many would say it is a law. So these are some of the companies that I'm a partner in, or that I have created, or that I'm the CEO of. And I love it, Charles. I love my life. I love my life. It's still challenging. I still have 3 kids at various stages, 21, 19, and 8. I'm not out of the woods. I will never be out of the woods. There are still stresses, but I love my life, and I love the challenges, and I love the beauty of it.
I can relate to everything. I love my life too. Doesn't mean that it's easy. Why expect easiness all the time? Giving back. I mean, yeah, the entrepreneur right before you in Mexico, because I interview folks from all around the world, well, said the same, like as long as you give, you'll receive. And it's just a law that's out there. It's pretty logic as well. It's reciprocity from a psychological standpoint.
Yes.
Love everything that you shared. My ultimate question to you is, well, actually the one before the ultimate one is, if you're seeing the peak of Everest right now, there's many flags leading to that Everest, right? Your goals this year, how will you reach the top of Everest this year? And what are these flags? What are these micro goals that you've set for yourself?
What a fascinating question. And I think, because I've always got an alternate take on the world, I would say I'm at the top of Everest at the moment. I would say I'm at the bottom of Everest at the moment. I would say I'm halfway through it, and I can see it all. And for me, it's choosing a flag, and it's choosing a location that I'd like to spend a little bit more time examining. And what I want to examine before the end of the year is the book that I'm writing, How to Open Your Heart. That's what it's called at the moment. It probably won't be called that when it's all said and done, but that's my working title. And that's the flag I'm going to look at. And there are several other flags that I'll look at as well. And those are my family, right? The priority to travel come January and February. I want to spend 2 months traveling. I've never done that before. Well, at least not since I started my corporate life. I used to spend a year at a time traveling, but I haven't done that in, gosh, almost 30 years. So this is what I want to focus on. I want to focus on my book. I want to focus on my family. I want to focus on some travel, and I want to keep on loving and growing.
Love it. Gonna read the book, and yeah, you need to put Oaxaca on your map. It's
Yes.
a contrarian take, but I've done a good part of this world, and it's a very nice place to be. Montreal is my second favorite city. Oaxaca is one, but favorite doesn't mean that I'd love to live there. It's just too common. That's where I grew up, so it's like people that I know. So I need to change air. Okay, last one, I promise. So you're on your deathbed. What have you accomplished by then, and what legacy do you want to leave?
Well, oddly enough, I actually think about this question quite often. I imagine myself on my deathbed. And what I've come to the conclusion about is that on my deathbed, I am certain that everything will melt away and nothing will be important. My legacy, unimportant. Anything I've ever owned, unimportant. All of it, unimportant. So on my deathbed, what I want to see and what I know I will see is love. That's it. That's it. None of it is important. I don't care if my name's ever written in stone anywhere. I don't care. I am, and I always will be, and I always was. And that goes for everything and everyone I've ever met. They all coexist, alive, dead. They're all here, and they always will be. Death is a moment in this world, but I am of this world. And I believe that's what I will experience on my deathbed.
It's a wavelength. How does love feel? How does it look like?
Oh, what a fantastic question. And I don't know that it can be answered verbally, because I think it's beyond the mind. I think that we can only say or only feel what it is. And the best we can do is make an approximation of the most glorious feeling you've ever felt, the most safe you've ever felt, the most connected you've ever felt. And if you can find that moment in your life, whether it was with your parents or a friend or a spouse or whomever that was with, or if it's just by yourself or in nature, if you can find that moment where you felt supported and loved and you were at peace and there was complete and utter stillness, and yet everything coexisted, then I would say that's love.
Interesting. A white room of light, pink, or two waves dancing in symphony. I think Connection's also a good one.
I love
That
it.
was a good one. Alex, woo, good one. Great one, should I say. Where can people find out more about you?
Connect with me on LinkedIn, Alex Morin, Morin. I'm under the banner Almost Enlightened. You'll find all kinds of resources and silly things I've done and things I've done. But connect with me there, DM me and send me a message. And I do have to coach right now at 7 p.m. So I will I'll sign off. But here's what I want to say, Charles. Thank you. Thank you. I accepted this podcast interview because I was curious. You do things differently than me. And I looked at your newsletters. I looked at the volume of what you're creating. And I'm like, I can learn something here. I am not of Charles' world. He is unique. And I mean that. I'm like, wow was all I could say. I got to do this. I want to learn. I want to spend some time with this guy. And I'm happy that we did. And I want to continue this. And I actually am interested in doing business with you. As I said on our call yesterday, I want your help. I need your help. I need your help for leads in one of my businesses. And so let's circle back. Let's talk about that, because I feel the connection, and I want to do business with people who I'm connected with.
Well, thanks to you. That's probably a top 10 right there. So I think people will enjoy the vulnerability and all the creativity and the insights there. You're a hell of a speaker. So that was Alex Morin, mesdames et messieurs, and I am Charles Cormier, host of CEOWisdompodcast.com.